Hello, this is Marie with the Telestai Creations, and I wanted to do a little tutorial on how I make these water bottle koozies. Let's see if I can pan out a little bit. There we are. So there's one. This one is not felted, and it has a little eyelet here at the top so that you can put a drawstring on it and pull it around your bottle. Then I have one that I made here, right here, and it also has that little eyelet, and it is made of hand spun, so totally cool on that. There we go. That's the bottom, and I'm going to show you how to get this nice flat bottom for your water bottle. And this one right here is made of wool, and I fold it. It's not actually felted, but I did full it. It's sort of like felting, but not quite fully felted. And then what we're going to be making today is a koozie for this bottle. So this is just a little flip top bottle, and there we are. So what you'll do is you get casted onto your machine. This is a Home Profit Master Machine. It is a 72 needle cylinder, and I have the regular size needles in it. I do have the larger size needles for my machine, but today we're just going to use the regular size needles because we're using regular size sock yarn. This is just a little tool. Will that focus for you guys? Let's see, there we are. So this is just a little double-ended tool that I make. There's the one end, and then let's see if I get my hand there. There we are. See, there's the half moon, and then that part right. See, this camera is totally backwards today. Right, come on, baby. There we are. That's a bent end, and I make these and sell these. So I made a special tool for Jamie Mayfield of the Erlbacher Company. If you ever watch any of her sock TV videos, you'll see her using it. It's a custom-made one for her. I surprised her with it. So this is my half mark right here. That's where I always start. And I'm going to get casted on to every other needle, making sure my latches are open as I go. And I use a cast-on bonnet. So you can use, of course, whatever you're accustomed to, the basket or the bonnet or whatever it is. I know a gentleman makes some special cast-on baskets out of a whisk, which are really awesome looking. So here we go. And we won't be using the rubber today, just the cylinder. Oh, that needle's shut. That latch, I mean. Okay, there we are. So, just going around here. I think you can see that. It's been a while since I made a video. I just got some new cards, video cards for my camera, so I can make more videos. And I'm using this, where are you? There we are, bright orange yarn, because it's going to highly contrast with the sock yarn that I'm using. In the beginning, when I first started using my sock machine, I didn't use a really high contrasting sock yarn, cast on yarn, and I ended up getting it hooked into my socks in the beginning, not able to see it in order to get it off. So then I just crank around a ways so that all these needles now are up out of the cylinder. And then I just continue to loop my latches on. Please don't mind my putty. He feels that every time I use my sock machine that I have to pet him. That's this putty. So you may see him walk by and meow. So there was another gentleman on YouTube who has the suggestion of using these little clips. These are really cool. So you just clip it here, and that keeps this loop right here from sliding down as I crank around. So I'm just going to crank on a few rows as I'm holding down with my hand. Let's see if I'm going to pan out. So I'm holding down with my hand here, and I am cranking on my waist. Now we're going to be turning a toe or a heel, however you do it. I usually do a toe up, so I call it a toe. So I crank to the back, then I take my tool and I lift up half my cylinder needles. And I keep lifting. And I'm going to lift right back to that blue mark right there. Oop, almost forgot one. There we go. And a little nubby bit there. And then there we go. Pull all this through. This is how I do it. I just wind it around my finger. And I pop it in the cylinder. Now, I don't put my buckle on or anything at this point because I'm going to be using my heel forks, and I don't need the even pressure back here at this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my sock yarn up and thread it through my machine. I do not have one of those slotted yarn mass or slotted yarn carriers, so I just have to thread everything through. So then I'm going to take it and put the half moon part of my tool through the eye of my sock machine right there, this yarn carrier. Then I pull this through. Now I'm going to take another one of these clippies and I'm just going to clip it on this yarn, and I'm going to hold the yarn back here with my hand just a little bit, just to give it just a little bit of tension. And if you can remember, which I generally don't remember, is to turn it to where it's just a little bit larger on this. It just makes it that much easier to hang. So I'm going to crank around. I forgot to hold tension on, so two of my stitches didn't knit right here. And I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit on those so that you can see that. Okay, so these two stitches right here didn't knit. So I'm going to take my little tool. I happen to like the bent in part of this tool a lot. And I'm just going to loop the cast on yarn over it as if it had actually knit, just in order for it to be knitted. Okay, so now it's knitted. Alright, so zoom out a little bit. Now you can see the whole cylinder. Alright, so the first row is knitted. Now I wrap. So I have a little mantra that I say. Of course, you have to add your heel spring now. So my little mantra is wrap 1. Then I start to crank, and then I hold it down with my hand, and I slowly crank around, and then I wrap 2, which is this needle right here. Let's tighten up a little bit on that. Can you see that? There we go. So it's the first lifted needle right there. I wrapped around that. So that's wrap 2. Then I'm holding down still. Now I lift 1, which is the target needle. Whatever color you have your target needles marked at, I lift that target needle, pulling down and back. I crank. Now I'm going to be lifting the target needle on this side, pulling down and back. Now I say wrap 3. So you wrap it like that. And then I'm pulling down and back. Now I wrap 4. Then I crank. So now you're going to have this needle wrapped and this needle wrapped twice, and these two needles lifted. So then now I add my heel weights. I use forks that I made in a copper tube with some lead shot, and I hook it on my heel fork. Can you see that? That's the heel fork right there. It's a 2-pronged fork that is bent I put that in the center. Then I grab my other one. I'm still just in a little bit of chaos. I went and did a sock machine demo at one of our local yarn shops called Fiber Creek. And so I'm just getting everything put back away. Now, these are in here, and I just make sure that when I apply them that this whole space right here has got tension on it. So now you lift, and then you crank. And this is what I do. Lift, crank. And what I've found is if it's too hard for me to lift this needle right here with my hand, me personally, I feel I have too much tension on the yarn, on this delicate yarn here. So if I can't lift it like that with my finger, now granted my fingers are a little tougher than normal, I think there's too much weight. So now I'm going to lift the heel weights up just a bit. Now this is going to be a much wider toe than you would do for like a regular sock. I have these marks right here that I marked in yellow, and that's from when I'm doing different bags and things. So I can tell that I lifted because my yarn is there. I'm going to lift on this side, lift on this side, lift on this side. Now I am lifting my water bottle target needle, if for lack of a better word. And so what I'm doing inside here is I'm grabbing this yarn with right here, this bit of fabric, with my hand, and I'm pushing down on it as I'm unhooking the heel fork so that I can get it put just where I want it. So I can make sure that each bit of yarn has got the proper pressure, see? So then now I know I lifted this one, and how I can tell that I didn't put these two down is because the latches, all these little latches, are tucked under the yarn that of the needles that are down. So I know I didn't put these down because when you put them down, those little latches are on the outside. Then you crank. So it's the Marie version of the 1 up, 2 down. So 1 up, 2 down. And there's different ways of doing this. However you turn your toes and heels, you can use, just so long as you stop a ways out for your heel or toe. What it's doing is it's giving you that nice flat bottom. And I just experimented until I got to the number of needles that I thought would look really good. So dropping, lifting, so these two, so that I'm lifting the last one that I wrapped and dropping these last two into work. Then I crank around, and then you lift this last one. So you'll have your target needle is down and the one just behind it is up on both sides. So now you have to do a hung toe. So I crank to about, I would guess you could call this the 12 o'clock position. And then I take my weights off like this. We're not going to add the rubber or anything in this time. So then we push all the needles down into work, just a few at a time. Pop, 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 pop. And then take out your little clippies. Which is, take all those out because you don't need them in there anymore. And where's it at? There it is. I like this little pick that I made. I sharpened it really, really sharp and thinned it out. And so what we're doing now is we're taking this little pick and you're going to hang your toe. If you haven't hung a toe before, a couple things you need to be careful of. Right back here, these needles are down in the cylinder and they will pop off. So you want to pull them down. So what I do, because I know I'm going to be working right here, I just kind of crank a little more. And then I put my fingers down in here like this. Grab this little tail and pull it out. So what I'm looking for is, let's see if I can get tighter here. And you still be able to see what I'm doing. Is that too tight? Yep, it doesn't like that. How about right there? There, and it focuses. Okay, so right here, just past this sock yarn, there's a loop buried back in here. So it's right there. And so when you pull on this, it's right there. So what you do is you make sure that this latches down right here. You grab that loop, you pull it over. Ah, see the latch is wanting to shut. And then you lay it on top, making sure that latch is held open with that stitch. This is one of the things that I've learned. And then I'm going to reach in between that really bright orange cast on. Now see how it pulled up a little bit, but it'll go back down. That bright orange. I'm looking for this pink. There we go. And there we go. So what you're going to do is these would be, if you were to turn a toe. Oops, you can't see that, can you? Hold on. Okay, so these two are marked right here on the cylinder. If you are turning a regular toe or a regular heel, there's 12 needles in between these two target needles. So what I'm doing is I'm going to pull all these little stitches up and lay them on, up and lay it on, just gently, not pulling it out too far, but just enough to make sure that I don't have the cast on and I have all of the yarn up to these target needles right here. So you do this side like this. Oops, I got two loops there. There we go. Pop. So one before it now. Okay, now this will be my last one here. I'm to that target needle. So now on this side over here, there's the cast on yarn. And then right behind the cast on yarn, if you dig it out, you'll see that there's a little loop right there. Your very first loop of sock yarn is buried in there. And if you just kind of dig a little bit, you can dig that little booger out, holding the latch open. Now this is the needle that got the wrap on it. So here's your target needle, your halfway mark needle. Here's the needle in front of it that you wrapped. That's what you're hanging your first stitch on. At least in my version of this heel, that's what I do. It helps me not to get the holes in my toes. So then you just go along, pulling these little loops out. Oh, didn't get all the yarn. There we go. And there we go. A little bit of shadow there. Okay. So then I kind of like, I know you can't see it, but I take this and I just kind of pull it up and see there's a bunch of little loops. I don't know, is that too bright for you guys? A bunch of little loops there that you're working with. There we go. And it's not the way I normally do it. The way I normally do it is I hold it with my right hand, I pinch it. I pull my loops up like this. I pull this over and I dig the little loops out like that. But I'm trying to do it to where you guys can see it. Well, at least some of it. There we go. To get the idea. You can just fiddle it and make it work. Okay. So now we are to that target needle. I'm getting my cast on yarn. Okay. So now we're at the two target needles here. And we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I always end up with 13. And when I'm doing a sock, I always cast on this extra one right here and I loop it on top of that target needle for the first sock. Then for the second sock, I loop it on the left target needle. That's just the way I know which needle to use, because normally I end up with 13. And if I already have one sock made, I know that I'm going to hook it on my, double up on my left target needle. If no socks are made, I have to double up on my right target needle. I've seen some people do this and they actually end up with 14. I don't know how come I don't end up with 14, but it works for me. So now this is a little bit tighter hooking this on here than it would be if I were doing a toe, because there's less rows, a lot less rows. On a regular toe, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more rows. So I'm 6 rows shy, so it's just a little tight, so you just gotta kind of work with it a little bit here. And as you get to these last couple of stitches here, it's pulled pretty tight when you're doing this type of a project. So you just got to fiddle that last one out and make sure that you get that one right there, so that you see you have a solid row right here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Okay, and we're going to pull it this way. Okay, so you see right along here, there's that. I wonder if I can get this to not stop recording. It's going to be a little jiggly. Okay, so there we go. So right along here, you're going to see the cast on yarn, and you're going to see a loop of your sock yarn. And when you're looking at it from the side here, you're going to, if I can get it to focus, there we go. You're going to see right here, you're going to see your orange cast on yarn, or whatever cast on yarn color that you use, and your sock yarn. So there's 2 there. There should only be 2 stitches. And then, like I said, on this side, let's see if I can get it around. Right there, you're going to see smooth cast on. Okay, so let's fill you guys back up into my makeshift stand here. All right, and zoom out just a skosh. Okay, so now we're all the way on. We've taken our heel spring off, and this is nice and tight like a trampoline. This is called a soft weight. I learned it from Eye Candy. It's just a silky kind of sock filled with lead shot. And before you do that, though, this little tail here, what I do is I zigzag it back and forth every other needle, holding it down my finger, almost like an E-wrap, holding it down. And I usually make sure I have enough to hit that target needle right there. Then you put this weight in, and what this weight does is it just kind of helps hold it down evenly. Now, if you don't have the weight, I'll show you a little bit of that. Now, we are going to reset the counter to 0. Then you're going to, ooh, I might have a boo-boo there, fiddling this thing back and forth. See that right there? That would have been bad. Okay, so if you don't have the soft weight, what you need to do is take your hand and put pressure on the needles that you're just knitting, making sure that your latches are open. Then you move your hand and you're putting pressure. See, like with my thumb? So there's pressure right there. And let's go just a little bit wider. So you can see my yarn carrier, the pressure's right there. I'm watching to see that the needle latches are open. And as I crank around, I'm putting pressure. Okay, so now we're at these that I wrapped. You'll want to grab this little tail and just kind of put some pressure on it, pushing down the yarn that you wove in and out, like that. And then you'll want to slowly crank. So that's going to be one full crank. If you had the soft weight in here, you just push down right here. And you need, usually when you're doing a toe up, I need 3 full plain rows. Now that's going to be 2. Now that's 3. Okay, so with that done, what I like to use is this little tool that I made. So it's a piece of stainless steel rod that I just bent these edges over like that. Okay, so that's just bent in. Not sharp, they're blunt. So then I take my soft weight out for a minute. I take my tool and I'm going to see if I can zoom in just a little bit. Oops, my camera moved. There we go. Oh, dang it. Come on, stay. Okay. And it's going to slowly creep. Oh well, we're going to handle it. So right here in each corner is going to be where you started turning the, we're going to call it for right now, the bottom of your water bottle sock. And you're just going to loop it up there. See how it pops up through there? Then you just bring this other edge around and you just kind of fiddle it on. See? So those 2 are there. They're blunt. It's going to pull down like this. You won't put that in there. Okay? Then this is a stem weight. Uh-oh. Right here. This is my stem weight. I use these 3 weights right here. It's my most favorite one, as you can tell. It's pretty beat up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it underneath here and I'm going to hook it on to the little horseshoe tool. Put my soft weight back in. Then we're going to crank. Now, depending on the length you want, oh, pardon me, the length that you want for your, zoom out, for your bottle. If you know how many stitch rows that you need for an inch, then you can just measure your bottle of whatever kind of bottle it is, like this one right here, and then you'll know how many rows you need to do. I measured it. I need 60. So I'm hoping that this little bit of yarn that I have left right down here is going to give me 60 rows. So I like to take my sock still attached. I like to kind of give that just a little extra gentle pull just so I can feel. And then I just crank. And once I get to cranking, which 2, 3, it helps if your magnet is working properly. I'm just going to crank down until I get to 60. And when you're not ribbing and that you know your machine is set up, all the tension's correct and everything, you can crank pretty fast. Now what I'm doing here is I'm adjusting it 1/2 turn tighter just through this section right here because it's a little narrower. And I'm just going to crank, and that was at row 25 just because that's how my bottle measures. So I'm just going to crank around to probably 40. Then I'm going to turn it back that 1/2 turn so it's a little bigger loops. So that's 60. Okay, so in order to make the loops for you to be able to use your drawstring, you have to do that picot thing. So I reach inside and I take my weights out, take my handy dandy little tool here, and we'll see if I can get you closer. Sorry about that being so fast. Nope, it doesn't like it that close. And it's being a little booger. Now let's hope it stays. Ah, all right. So, right here on this target needle, this is where I start. And I push the target needle out with my finger, and I loop my hook under it. So I'm pushing out to get a loop. You lift it up, and you set it on its partner here. And you're going to do this all the way around. So what I'm doing when I'm pushing it out is it's causing there to be a little space behind the needle, and that's where I'm hooking the hook into, lifting it up and placing it on the next needle. So it's like this, and that, and that, and okay, now I've gone as far as I can. Widen this out just a little bit so you can see. Okay, so can you see yet? Right here? Okay, so this is as far as I can go because these needles are down. I'm going to put downward pressure on this, just gently pulling so that all my stitches don't come off, and I want to crank all the way back to here. And then my yarn mast moves, so I move it out of my way because I don't have one of those handy dandy little threaded or slotted ones where you can take your thread in and out of them. Mine's just the old-fashioned 1922 Home Profit Combo auto knitter yarn mast. Because my yarn mast, the little loops that your thread goes through, were broke off when I got it. And I got an auto knitter yarn mast, but the little guide thing at the top there, and the Home Profit Master Machines yarn mast, the loops are a good 3 inches further away from the machine than the auto knitter's yarn mast is, so I just stuck them on the rod together. So now I have like these 4 holes on the top of my yarn mast, and people are like, so how many threads can you crank through that at once? And I said, well, generally you don't do more than 2, but I know there's 4 loops up there, and I have to give them this whole explanation and stuff, so you guys got it without even asking. So maybe you can see it on that side. I don't think you can see what I'm doing on that side. A little jiggly, moving it up, moving it over. Okay, so maybe you can see from the back side now. I pull the needle out. I put my hook in that loop without splitting the yarn, pull it off, and stick it on the next needle. Sometimes I find it works better from the top. Sometimes it works better from the bottom. Just depends on the yarn. There we go. Oops. Okay, so now I'm back to the point again to where my needle's below the cylinder edge, pulling down. Now I'm starting to crank into this picot edge here. And you'll be able to see the loops forming. So that's where your thread is going to go through that you tie your water bottle koozie on. Now, what you'll want to make sure though is that your latches are open, because when you lift this yarn off, sometimes the latch slams shut and then you'll drop a stitch. And dropping stitches isn't fun, especially when it's unnecessary. It's never fun even when it, well, I guess it can be fun when you drop them on purpose, but there we go. Split that yarn, and now it's giving me issues. There we go. I got one more ply to slip over there. Okay, give a little tug, tighten everything up. Pulling the yarn over, putting it down. See if I can get tighter. Pull it off. Stick it over. Make sure your latch is open. go. Like that. Like that. So this is the last one, because there's my half mark right there. So then I'm going to pull down again. Oh, but I have to put my yarn mast back. Make sure that all the latches are open. Yes. Cranking, 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 cranking. Now what's fun about this is I can take the little hook off that I made, this little hook thing, and I can take my water bottle, because it's thin enough, pop it down in here and say, yep, that's gonna fit just right. It's gonna be awesome. And I have quite a bit of yarn left, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to latch tool off. That's just the top part that I want. I've got enough rows here. I think I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I went in 6 rows, so I'm good with 6. So once I start to crank back around, I'm going to start lifting the target needle, and all the rest of the needles are going to be lifted around like this as I crank around. And so what I'm going to do is how I make it to where I know I have enough to latch tool off. Starting from this needle, leaving it in my yarn carrier now. Let's go wide. There we go. Okay, so leaving it in my yarn carrier, I crank around 3.5 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, and if I have abundance amount of yarn, I'll go again. Then I clip it, and I feel safe. I'm going to go 4 on this one, just because I might do a fancy one. I feel safe that I'm going to have enough yarn to cut it, not have to tie it back in. Then I can pull it out, and this is a freewheel now. If you had a slotted yarn carrier and mast, you wouldn't have to cut it. You could just latch tool off, and you'd be fine. But I don't. So this is a little latch tool I made. Let's see if I can get you to see that. There you go. Okay, so this is my drop stitch tool. So this is another plug. I make these and sell these. So how I do this is I like a little bit of weight down there when I'm latch tooling off. So I take my handy dandy soft weight and plop. So then I get my yarn carrier completely out of the way. Let's tighten in on this and try and do it slowly so you don't get seasick here. And it will focus. Focus, focus, focus. Focus. Come on, baby. Nope, it doesn't like it that tight. So we're going to go out just a skosh. Focus there. Yes. Okay, so now we're focused. All right. So this is what I do. I pull the first needle right there. I pull that needle out. Let me see if I can adjust the light. So I pull this needle. Nope, that makes it worse. Okay, so we're just gonna have to handle it. I pull this needle out, and then I stick my latch tool in it like that, and then I wrap this way and pull it through, and then I wrap it this way and I pull it through. Pull out the next needle, wrap, pull through, wrap in between and pull. The next needle, wrap, pull through, wrap. So if I can, wish I could keep my hands out of the way so you could see what I'm doing. Maybe this way, huh? Okay, so you pull the needle out. Nope, you're not going to be able to see it. Pull the needle out. Bananas. There's got to be a better way. Let me figure out something here. It might be a little tricky for a second, so please just be prepared. We're going to slide down right there. Let's adjust that right there. Pull this up. So sorry about this. There we are, but I think that it will help if I can just get it to work properly. Come on, baby, play nice. Okay, let's try that. Let's hope it works. So maybe I'll just use like my other tool that I have here. Okay, so I'm in here. I'm going to be doing this needle. So I pull this needle forward. I stick it through the side. Then I take my yarn past the latch. There's the latch. So it's past that latch. Then I pull it through. Then I poke it between the two needles. Wrap it. Do that. Then the next one here, I poke it through. Wrap. Pull between the two. Wrap. Here we go. In this loop right here. Wrap. Pull between the two. Pull. And so what that's going to do is it's going to give you a really lacy, stretchy type of bind off or cast off, whatever, to where you can get off the machine and your knitting won't come unknit. So what I'm not trying to show you is really pretty fast. So I'll show you how fast it can actually go here. Get everything. So one thing I'll show you now is that you could go all the way back. That was an accidente. So you just go wrap and wrap. Oh, yep. So then I'll show you over here. So past that latch, you wrap it. That first one doesn't need the extra in between. Then you wrap, close, wrap, wrap.